Okay, just a reminder that I am not expecting you to have any background at all for this stuff I'm gonna teach you. So I don't expect you to know it. I don't expect you to have heard of it. You might have heard of some of these things, not others. Let me get some light on in there, eh? Jeez. It's a little dark in here, Tim. Can we afford a bit more light? Jeez. Suddenly everybody's, turned their little homes into studios. Whatever. Everybody's a star. Everybody wants to be a star. Jeez. Okay. So in these first three lectures, what I'm going to do is give you the kind of quick geopolitical background that you would need to understand what the issues are going to be that we're going to face as we talk about Vietnam. So for the next, basically, I don't know, sort of 4 weeks worth of stuff. This is where to come if you want sort of the background, more background. And as always, you can always ask me for more background. There's plenty to give. It's really a matter of cutting it down. So this is just an introduction to what Lesson 1 is. Each day, what I've done is I've started us off with some music from the time and some poetry, which I've included in the course pack. And in class, we don't necessarily get time. I usually play the music when people are coming into the class. I'm just going to put in little tiny, the rock music from the 60s, songs lasted like 3 minutes long, and they weren't 8 or 9 minutes long. So, yeah. So I'm going to do that, and I'll talk a little bit about the music that and the poetry that in the poetry, I'll be reading the poetry and I'll be talking about it. And so I find that often people find that poetry is accessible, or they may or may not find a movie accessible. They may or may not find a film accessible, but poetry often is, and that's great. So that's how this is organized. And then the next thing I'm asking you to do is see a film. See this film, and you'll see 2 different buttons for that. It's the same film. One of them is a button that leads to 2 fairly low resolution, free. It's the movie that's been split into 2. The other should be the movie itself in one shot. The movie is called Dear America: Letters Home from Vietnam. It's a documentary. It was an HBO documentary from the 80s. And it's actually quite good. HBO used to be a sort of kind of, I don't know, middle of the road, keep everybody happy, and then it sort of began to drift a little bit towards the edgier part of the culture. It's still pretty much middle of the road. It's not as middle of the road as say National Geographic, which is seriously middle of the road. Anyway, okay, so this is an introduction to what we're going to be doing in Lesson 1. So that means that I'm going to give this sort of a little bit of historical background. I promise you it will not take long. You'll be through it like that. You'll fall asleep getting through it. And then we're going to talk about Tim O'Brien in Vietnam 2, where I talk about what is a close reading. And I want you to not so much learn as remember what it is to close read a text so that you're comfortable with reading a text. And then the third lecture is the discussion of Go Tell the Spartans, another film that I would like you to see. And that one I don't have a copy of online. You'll have to rent it. Okay, so that is this unit, and I will sign off.